You are burning your own mind alive. Every single day, you wage brutal psychological wars against things you cannot control, completely exhausting your mental battery before noon. But what if the ultimate psychological power move isn't trying harder? What if the real secret to dominance is refusing to fight at all? We live in an era obsessed with absolute dominance, constant grinding, and relentless force. Yet, the ancient archives of human wisdom whisper a completely different truth. Let us travel back to a time shrouded in deep mystery, around the 5th and 6th century BC, a time of profound philosophical awakening. Historians debate whether he truly ever walked this earth, or if he was merely a myth, a ghost in the machine of ancient history. His name was Lao Tzu, a contemporary of Confucius and the elusive author of a masterpiece that would forever alter human consciousness, the Tao Te Ching. This single work became the foundational pillar of Taoism, encoding a psychological cheat code that completely flips our understanding of power on its head. A well-known concept that has emerged from this ancient Taoist philosophy is Wu Wei, a term that modern minds often struggle to comprehend. It can be translated literally as non-action or effortless action, or perhaps the ultimate psychological paradox, the action of non-action. In a practical behavioral sense, we can describe Wu Wei as the ultimate state of flow, often referred to simply as the zone by elite athletes and performers. When you watch a master of their craft, someone who has reached the absolute peak of human execution, they engage in high-stakes action without any visible striving. They move through time and space almost effortlessly, as if guided by an invisible force. Within this mental sanctuary, there are no extremes, no paralyzing worries, no endless toxic ruminations. Everything seems to flow in a natural, predetermined course, a beautiful yet devastating tradition that we call the philosophy of flow. The Tao Te Ching itself remains a deeply mysterious piece of art. Not only is there zero historical consensus on when exactly it was written, but the very existence of its author remains fiercely disputed. Yet, one thing is undeniable: the sheer profundity of this ancient work has left a permanent mark on humanity to this very day. To put its cultural power into perspective, the Tao Te Ching is officially the most translated work in world literature, second only to the Bible. The absolute essence of this entire Taoist philosophy revolves around one singular goal: living in perfect, unbroken harmony with the Tao, also known simply as the Way. But what exactly is the Tao? That is a question that the logical mind cannot truly answer, and frankly, it is entirely futile to try. Our human understanding of the Tao only goes as far as the narrow limitations of our sensory perception. What the Tao really is, what it looks like, feels like, smells like, or sounds like, remains an eternal mystery locked away from the rational mind. In fact, Lao Tzu explicitly warned us that the Tao we can speak of is not the true eternal Tao. The famous opening lines of his masterpiece state clearly, the Tao that can be described is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be spoken is not the eternal name. So, what knowledge is actually available to us? Taoist philosophers emphasize over and over again that the true Tao is an all-encompassing primordial force, a force that exists far beyond our logical comprehension and cannot be perceived by the human senses. And even though we can never fully grasp it, our ultimate psychological goal is to live in complete agreement with it, an approach that is strikingly similar to the ancient Stoic philosophy of aligning oneself with nature. So, how do we actually live in harmony with the way? If you open ancient Taoist literature, you will notice that it doesn't give you a simplistic, step-by-step practical method. Instead, it leaves a trail of subtle clues, breadcrumbs pointing toward achieving absolute stillness of mind, curbing the chaotic desires of the senses, practicing radical humility, and completely ceasing our desperate striving. This is how we open ourselves up to the massive workings of the universe. Now, understand this clearly. This stillness of mind does not mean sitting down in a dark room with your eyes closed, escaping reality. The Taoists observed something far more profound. True stillness of mind can be seamlessly combined with intense, high-speed action. If you are completely anchored in the present moment, your actions will execute effortlessly, without a single ounce of psychological friction, and accompanied by a razor-sharp, weaponized focus. So pure, it feels almost ecstatic. Consider the words of legendary basketball icon Bill Russell, who wrote in his biography about experiencing this exact psychological phenomenon. It was almost as if we were playing in slow motion. During those spells, I could almost sense how the next play would develop and where the next shot would be taken. This isn't magic. It is the mechanics of the fluid mind. The ancient Taoist text, the Zhuangzi, illustrates this beautifully through the famous story of Cook Ting, a humble craftsman who engaged in his daily labor while fully immersed in this state of flow. His execution was so mesmerizing that it captured the attention of Lord Wenhui, who stood absolutely amazed at how elegantly and gracefully the cook cut up oxen. When the Lord commented on his incredible supernatural skill, Cook Ting laid down his knife, looked up, and gave an answer that contains the master key to human efficiency. Cook Ting replied, "What I care about is the way, which goes far beyond mere skill. When I first began cutting up oxen, all I could see was the massive ox itself. But after 3 years of intense alignment, I no longer saw the whole ox. And now, today, I go at it purely by spirit. I do not look with my physical eyes. Perception and understanding have come to a complete stop, and my spirit moves freely where it wants. I simply go along with the natural makeup of the anatomy, striking deep into the big hollows, guiding the knife smoothly through the natural openings, following things exactly as they are. Because of this, I never touch the smallest ligament or tendon, much less a massive main joint. This ancient parable reveals a critical truth about human energy. An essential part of the story lies in the condition of the tool itself. Cook Ting explained that good cooks change their knives every single year because they cut the meat. Mediocre cooks change their knives every single month because they hack violently through it. Cook Ting, however, had been using the exact same knife for 19 long years because he operated with supreme skill, subtlety, and gentleness. He never fought the obstacle. He bypassed it. This connects directly to one of the most weaponized teachings of Taoism, the absolute power of gentleness. By forcing, grinding, and violently striving, you might eventually get the job done, but at what cost? You are spending vastly more psychological energy than necessary, and you are suffering massive collateral damage. Someone in a true state of flow approaches reality intelligently, knowing precisely when to strike and when to yield, finding the golden path between anxiety and boredom. This entire philosophy of non-action runs completely counter to the modern Western ideal of forcing, grinding, and working yourself to the bone to achieve results. We are constantly conditioned to be hyper-ambitious, to seize control, and to violently strive against reality. Meanwhile, look at the world around you. Society is plagued by historic levels of depression, chronic anxiety disorders, and severe sleep deprivation. We are quite literally burning ourselves alive. We look down on passivity, often mistaking it for laziness. But laziness and wu wei are entirely different animals. When you look closely at nature, doing nothing makes infinitely more sense than we think. Results do not equal the sheer amount of brute force energy you spend. Results are merely the natural consequence of a beautifully aligned series of effortless actions. The supreme irony is that many of the most complex problems in your life would solve themselves if you stopped interfering. Taoism compares human life to a raging river. The river already possesses a natural course, or a series of deep channels. Once you find yourself in that river, you have three choices. You can frantically swim against the heavy current. You can desperately hold on to a passing branch, or you can let go entirely and flow along with the massive stream. For most of our lives, we are exhausting ourselves swimming against the current, and we don't even realize it. Our hyper-rational mind foolishly believes it can and should control the entire environment just to survive, which is deeply egocentric, considering the vast majority of processes inside and outside of us are completely out of our control. Let's face the cold reality. You do not control your bodily processes like digestion, blood flow, or the microscopic healing of wounds. You do not control other people. You do not control the unpredictable future. You don't even control who you fall in love with, or what specific things your brain finds attractive. Everything outside your own immediate faculties just moves in its own natural direction. When you flow along with the current, you align your entire psychology with this natural course. This is the path of least resistance. It gives nature a chance to unfold without your toxic resistance. The Taoist way is about masterfully navigating through the river instead of trying to control the water, an illusion that will never, ever work. And what is the ultimate symbol of this philosophy? It is the water itself. The defining characteristics of water are softness, fluidity, and absolute humility. The very traits that symbolize supreme Taoist virtue. As written in the Tao Te Ching, the supreme good is like water, which benefits all of creation without ever trying to compete with it. It gathers willingly in the unpopular, low places. Thus, it is exactly like the Tao. Water may be soft, but it effortlessly grinds down the hardest rock through pure, unhurried persistence. It has no ego, no rigid purpose, no desperate desires. Yet, it beggars description how it nourishes everything it passes. An incredible, unstoppable life force doing monumental work without an ounce of raw ambition. If you have ever experienced a true state of flow, you know that there is one specific thing that vanishes completely and only returns when your anxious mind tries to take back control. That thing is the toxic obsession with results rather than the task directly in front of your face. This aligns perfectly with the Stoic concept of Amor Fati, the radical, unconditional embrace of your fate, whatever the outcome may be. No matter if you are fully immersed in intense sports, writing a masterpiece, playing a high-stakes video game, or dancing, when you are truly in the zone, you forget the pressure, you forget the anxieties of tomorrow, and the failures of yesterday. It is just you, and the present moment, and the only way to enter this kingdom is by letting go. Stop swimming against the current. Stop holding on to the branches. Focus entirely on this exact second and live it without a single shred of hesitation.